Oh, welcome to WagerTalk Today. I didn't even do the summary today. I got no idea what's going on. I do know Ross Benjamin is joining us. So is Jesse Schule and Andrew McInnis. I know for sure 100% we're going to take apart both Monday night football games. I know I'm for sure going to whine about my bad beats that started on Friday with Washington. I have no doubt Teddy's 6Bs are going to be incredible. And without question, Andrew McInnis is going to discuss NHL. So with that said, Ross Benjamin, how are you, my friend?
I cannot complain, especially when I'm with you guys.
Well, Ross, I can. We're going to be doing a 2-hour show between 3 and 5 live. Me just complaining. You think we'll get a lot of people?
It shouldn't be any transition for the viewers, right?
Oh, Ross was some
instead of an hour, it's 2 hours of complaining. So,
Ross,
I love you, Prez. I love you, Prez.
Ross.
You know that.
Ross. Let's get. Honestly, Ross, I want to get you off the air so I can bitch and whine about my beats. So where I'm so out of it today. Where are your games?
Just shut up. Let me take over the show. Also on today's show, we got 6Bs. We'll do bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. And of course, my big game breakdown. We'll talk a little playoff baseball. Oh, by the way, playoff baseball doesn't start. Well, there's a playoff type doubleheader today, potentially, but real playoff baseball starts tomorrow. We'll get going with that a little bit later in the show. Now let's bring in Ross Benjamin. Ross, how are you doing today, my friend? What's the good word?
I'm always good, Teddy. I'm always good.
We redid it? We redid the whole thing? Well done, Teddy. Can I go again?
So, Ross, we want to start off talking about a little Tennessee-Miami for tonight. Looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen, right? Hey, Lawrence, you're having a rough morning. It's okay. I'll get the show started. Right now, look at the WagerTalk live odds screen. We're looking at Miami minus 2.5, 37, the current total. You're looking at some first half action for this one. Just clicking on the screen to see what the first half numbers are. This is one of the big benefits of the WagerTalk live odds screen. You can see click around and see all kinds of stuff. We're looking at Miami minus 1 or minus a half, total 17.5 in most locations. First half for this ballgame. What do you want to do with the Titans and the Dolphins?
Thank you, Teddy. Miami 1-2 on the season. Their first game last week with Tua throughout the entirety of the game, without Tua, I should say. And even with Tua, they haven't been very good in the first half of games. Miami 0-3 straight up in ATS in the first half this year and outscored 58-20. Tennessee, on the other hand, despite their 0-3 record, they're 2-1 straight up in ATS in first half action, and they're a plus 1.3 point per game differential. These teams played at Miami last year, and Tennessee is a 13.5 point dog, won the game outright 28-27. So, I just can't see Miami all of a sudden turning it around here with a backup quarterback and getting off to a good start. I know Tennessee leaves a lot to be desired in what we saw in the first 3 weeks, Teddy, but they have come out strong in 2 of the 3 games they played in the first half. Well, Miami, 58-20 combined aggregate score in the first half of the first 3 games. That's getting outscored by 38 points, if my math is correct, just a shade under 13 points per game. I'm going to take Tennessee here plus a half a point in the first half against Miami.
So we've seen a wide variety when it comes to a quarterback coming in, picking up the system, figuring it out pretty quick. Certainly Malik Willis for Green Bay, exceptional. And the Packers were able to win a couple of games with Willis behind center. And then, of course, when he came back yesterday, when Jordan Love came back yesterday, Green Bay fell down 20-0 and lost the ball game. So we have seen scenarios where the backup or where a QB comes in off the street or off the waiver wire versus trade and doesn't and has immediate success. Is there any chance of that for Miami tonight with Hundley?
If you watched Hundley when he was the backup in Baltimore, You saw John Harbaugh go to a very conservative game plan, and Baltimore was very run heavy in those games when Huntley was the quarterback. I could see the same here with Miami tonight. And also, Teddy, these backup quarterbacks, it alters the game plan offensively of the coordinator. They tend to be a lot more conservative. They don't take risk, and they want the quarterback basically that phrase of just managing the game. And that certainly is applicable in these types of situations. So, yeah, it's a good point that there's no guarantee a backup quarterback is not going to perform well, because we've seen that occur on many times over the years in the NFL. I just don't think this is that type of situation in this particular contest.
Ross Benjamin joining us, everyone. Ross, you got to watch tomorrow's show, Ross. Before we get into your next pick, which is still on the same game, I want to tell everybody last Tuesday, Steve Merrill co-hosted with me, and we basically trash talked for 45 minutes. We've decided to make that a thing. Trash Talk Tuesday will be tomorrow again, and Steve Merrill will be co-hosting with me. So put it in your schedule, everyone. Tokyo the Pimp Brandon will be back. Ross, if you got shit you want to trash talk, slack it in. I'll say it on the air. Okay.
All right.
So, with that said, trash is literally what the Titans have been with that Will Levis quarterback. You don't think that's going to be the case tonight, although they could still be trash and you still win your bets. You got another bet for us on this Titans game. What is it?
Yeah, the team total in the first half on the Titans at 8.5. And you're right. I mean, Tennessee's been trash offensively. I've never been a big fan of Will Levis since he's taken over as a starting quarterback in Tennessee. However, this 8.5 is an extremely low number. This is a Miami team. I already alluded to their ineptness in the first half of games this year. And, Prez, they've allowed 17 points or more in the first half in all 3 games this year, and basically an average of 17.3 points per game allowed in the first half thus far in 2024. Tennessee, on the other hand, as inept as they are offensively, they have averaged 11.3 points per game in the first half this year, and that's about 2.8 points per game higher than what this is right now at 8.5. So, it doesn't take a lot to get over a total of 8.5. We're asking Tennessee to score 9 here. And just based on the tendencies of both teams offensively and defensively and how they performed in the first half, I'm going to go Tennessee over their team total of 8.5 in the first half.
So conceptually, I don't disagree with your with the idea. But here's my question. All right, when we look at, say, who Miami's faced so far this season, they faced the Jaguars, they faced the Bills, they faced the Seahawks. Ain't none of those teams worse than Tennessee on the opposite side of the football. So when we start talking about averages, don't we have to factor in strength of schedule in that regard? Because Absolutely. To me, averages are meaningless. Okay.
Absolutely, Teddy. But you would also look at those 3 games, and none of those 3 teams were close to 8.5 in the first half as far as their team total goes. So this total has been adjusted, team total that is. And I definitely looked at that as a component when I handicapped this game, especially in the first half. But again, those 3 teams that you just mentioned, their team total was, I believe, 11.5 or higher in each of those first halves against Miami, if I'm not mistaken. Somewhere in that area anyway. They definitely weren't in the area of 8.5, and that's been adjusted because of Tennessee. Obviously, if you look at their season stats offensively, has been anemic offensively. So factored all that in, and I still like this game, or Tennessee to go over the first half total of 8.5.
Ross Benjamin, man. Ross, we love having you on. It's why you're on every single week. So what do you got to promote, bro?
Had a lot to promote. I mean, NFL 3-1 yesterday, including a 4% best bet winner on Tampa Bay plus the 1.5, and they win easily, wire to wire against Philadelphia, 33-16. After a horrible NFL Sunday or week last week, a lot of people jumped off the bandwagon. Hopefully, you got cast on your ankles for doing so, but you need to heal and come back with me, because the rest of the NFL season, I'm going to be on a tear. College football continues to roll. Prez is 12-4 over the last 3 Saturdays. Number one in money earned in college football since the start of last year. Number 3 in win percentage since the start of last year. So it's no fluke what I've been doing in college football. 81-59 since the start of last year. A net profit of over $4,100 during that course of time. Major League Baseball postseason on the horizon, as Teddy alluded to. I was up $7,600 last year in the MLB postseason. So a lot of great stuff in college football, NFL, and the MLB postseason on the horizon. And you could find me over at wt.buzz/RB Press.
Wonderful stuff. Ross Benjamin, everybody. We got lots of betting information coming your way.
Just let me jump in real quick, Lawrence.
Yeah.
Just real quick, the graphic was wrong for Ross Benjamin. So just that graphic should read wt.buzz/RB for Ross Benjamin. So just when we put up a graphic that's wrong, it's important that we correct it right away. Lawrence?
Thank you, Ted.
No problemo. So we got Jesse Schule coming up still. He's going to look at the Lions and the Seahawks game. He's got a couple of bets for us on that. He's also going to look at UCF and Florida, and Andrew McInnis with 3 NHL future bets that you don't want to miss. Teddy's 6Bs are about to come up, but before we get into that, I'm going to do Lawrence's 1B. Because, well, you did get a text from me last night, Teddy. I tried all day to not text you. I texted Marco. He talked me off a ledge. So I'm going to leave my favorite game to last. So I had a dreadful day yesterday, Teddy. I had Cincinnati as my only ATS bet. That won. Yay. I had Pittsburgh under the total, 17-0 in the midway through the third. That lost. Fine. Fair enough. No problemo. I had the New York Jets in a teaser. That lost. Didn't go well. I had Arizona over. So did you. We both won that. I had the New England Patriots in San Fran under the total of 40.5. I think there were 65 points scored on turnovers. I think almost every score in that game was on turnovers. And I ended the night with the over in the Baltimore-Buffalo game. Yeah, Teddy, I know you're bored, and I don't care. Saturday, I went 2-3 for my clients. Lost on Northern Illinois because I put the play up before the line move. And Friday, Teddy, I lost because a fan jumped on the field. I mean, put that in your pipe and smoke it. I had Washington +3. It pushed. They missed 3 field goals, and there was a touchdown off of a block punt, a block kick, because a fan jumped on the field. So that was my incredible weekend. On top of that, I fought with Vivian. I screamed at my kids. I told my dad to screw off. It was a wonderful weekend. Teddy, tell us about yours.
It wasn't a fan, by the way. It was a player. It was a freshman who ran on the field and was all excited.
He's still a fan.
Let's talk BB. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. A little recap of what just happened this past weekend in college football action. Certainly, if you had Washington in that ball game against Rutgers, that was no fun on Friday night. Not 1, not 2, 3 missed field goals in that game. Rutgers ended up winning by a field goal. Wasn't pretty for Huskies backers in that regard. Wasn't pretty for Auburn backers on Saturday either. Hoo-wee! Oklahoma had a frost QB, and the Tigers dominated. They get the box score trophy. They won the yardage by 200, 26-11 first downs. What happens? The frost QB is not going to lead Oklahoma to victory, and he wouldn't have. But Auburn, with the lead, in the fourth quarter, clock winding down. They managed to throw a pick six to lose straight up. And then whatever. Auburn, right side, wrong result. Wisconsin was as bad as it got this weekend. It really was. They're plus, 14.5 during the week. They're leading outright by double digits at halftime at USC. All right, USC controls the second half. Wisconsin's still going to cover. But then, like Auburn, a pick six sends the game the other direction. And then Wisconsin even gives their fans and backers a little bit of hope. A 74-yard kick return. They got 1st and 10 at the USC 18. And then, of course, they're down 17. They need 3 scores. They decide to go for it on 4th down. They don't convert. No field goal. They lose by 17. Brutal if you had the Badgers. North Carolina -1 versus Duke. That wasn't any fun. Tar Heels up 17-0 at halftime, then 20-0 after North Carolina had a punt block and they recovered and go on a drive. It felt like garbage time midway through the third. And then the Tar Heels defense remembered who they were. Touchdown, stopped on down, touchdown the next 4 Duke drives. Nearly 300 yards of offense allowed from a shitty offense. Manny Diaz, Duke head coach after the game. I'm in awe of our guys. That was the second largest comeback win in Duke history. If you had the Tar Heels -1, that was very little fun. We talked about the Cowboys -5.5 on Friday. Obviously, kicker Aubrey had been 16 of 16 in his career from 50+ and 48 of 50 overall. But the one to cover the point spread, up 5, well, that's the one he chose to miss. Tough beat for Cowboys backers, even if he didn't shop around for the best number. Houston -5.5. You got to watch the last 6 seconds of that game and tell me why that's not a safety. I still don't understand. They were plus 120 yards, plus 11 first downs, but they had a muff punt. They had a bunch of penalties. And then again, if the Texans had gotten a safety on that play, it would have been a bad beat for Jacksonville. So whatever. And of course, Lawrence just mentioned the Bills-Ravens over. Got bet up before kickoff. It's 35-10. All you need is a field goal. Tyler Bass, a pretty good kicker. But he missed a 48-yarder on the first play of the fourth quarter. And then we saw 4 straight 3-and-outs. And you got Mitch Trubisky leading the final drive for Buffalo, not Josh Allen. Because it's such a blowout, the last drive was 5 handoffs. Didn't get any points then either. Game lands 45. Tough if you had the over in that one. Bad bets. Let's see. USF bet from +7 to +4 at Tulane. They lost 45-10. Baylor -1 to -3 against BYU. They trailed wire to wire, lost by 6. All Browns money against the Raiders on Sunday. That was +2 early in the week to -2.5 by kickoff. Huge move. Look, admittedly, Vegas had an ugly injury report. That said, Browns aren't very good right now. Raiders get the money. Bad bets on Cleveland. All Steelers money against the Colts, +1.5 to -2.5. Indy wire to wire. In that one, they held on to win by 3. All Jets money against the Broncos. Bo Nix couldn't move the ball against that D, and Denver got hurricane. Denver had disrupted practice. Jets up to 8, 8.5, even 9. They lost outright. They were flat as a pancake. Bad for the books. Let's see. Kentucky and under versus Ole Miss. That wasn't good. The wise guys loaded up on Kentucky, loaded up on the under. That was a wise guy special on Saturday. There was Colorado money. Lots of it before kickoff at UCF. +14.5 down to +12.5. The Buffs won that game wire to wire. Nothing but over money. Bad for the books. Carolina, Cincy. That was as low as 42.5 at open. Closed 46.5. And of course, a lot of Cincy money in that game as well. 34-24 final. That wasn't good for the house. Niners, Pats. Sharp money was on the over in that ball game. 40 up to 42. Landed 43. They got paid. Chiefs, Chargers wasn't pretty for the books at all. Really wasn't. The worst game of the weekend. I'm sure they're going to tell us that when we talk to them throughout the week. Chargers were as high as +9. KC was as low as -6.5. All the questions, Herbert going to play, not going to play. Well, he played. The Chiefs got the late touchdown to win by exactly 7. Game lands right in the middle. There you have it. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. Not from my perspective, but from the whole marketplace perspective. Prez, let's hear you talk about you some more.
Well, thank you, Teddy. I was just going to point out that you did go 2-1 yesterday. Congratulations. And yeah, dude, you know, listen, I spoke to Brian Power today. Mark Zeno had the over in the Baltimore game last night, and he was pretty pissed off. Brian's literal comment was, had to talk Mark Zeno off of a ledge. Marco had to talk me off of a ledge last night. And the point I'm making is we care a ton, guys. You know, in all seriousness, like, you know, Marco and a lot of these guys, they say to me all the time, Prez, you know, Jerry Rice this thing. Pretend you've been there. You've done that. It's a losing streak. You'll be good. Don't worry about it. The wins will come. Stay calm. It's okay. Don't show the people how emotional this shit gets you. Screw that. It gets me so emotional I can't even sleep at night. When I lose for my clients, I can't handle it. And it's nice to know Mark Zeno can't handle it either. It's nice to know that when you buy picks from us, we are probably way more devastated than you are when you lose. I know I'm more devastated. I can't cope with losing. I've had a shitty 4 months of betting, and it is affecting every part of my life. I am pissed with my children, pissed with my wife, pissed with you. I told Dan to screw off today. So, yeah, it affects me. With that said, Teddy, I have a promo to give out. Oh my God, dude. I literally have a 5% play going tonight in NFL, and I put it up before. I had a losing night last night. This was my favorite play of the week. I win tonight. I have a winning week 4 of the NFL. So I'm trying to move on. I'm trying to put it all behind me, but man, it does hurt. Anyway, guys, that promo code GAME10, Game Day 10, Game Day 10 gives you $10 off of my package tonight. I got a side and a total. I love you guys. I love you guys, and I'm sorry. Jesse Schule joining us. How bad do you take this? How bad do you take losing for clients? Like, I honestly can't. Like, I want to heave my guts. I have literally vomited in the past.
Prez, I'm pretty good at putting losses behind me 99% of the time. I can, I have faith. I've done it for long enough. I know I'm going to get back on track. But there's that odd game. Let's think of the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl. I literally couldn't sleep for 2 days. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw 30-3 at halftime scores, and borderline, temporary insanity for a few days to get over that bad beat. I had a pretty bad one on Saturday with the Central Florida against Colorado, and boy, are they letting me hear about it on Twitter and in the comments section on YouTube, and rightfully so. I mean, I've been talking down this Colorado team. They're pretty good at football. What can I say? I'm not alone though, because I think every expert on the internet was expecting Central Florida to win that game handily.
Yeah, last night for the first time in 6 weeks, I had a cigarette in my sleep. Thank God it was in my sleep. But I legitimately remember I was on like drag 4, and then my kid said, "Why are you smoking?" And then I threw it out. So, yeah. Okay, Ross, Jesse. Not my best day. I'm ready to murder. So, I have lunch with my volatile father in an hour. The Detroit Lions, my brother. They're at home. They're facing the Seahawks. Where are we going in this game? You've got 2 bets. Give them both, and Teddy will ask you a follow-up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a revenge game for Detroit, and I know revenge angles are something that a lot of people don't like, and I would never bet on a game based on solely just the revenge angle. But Seattle did rain on their parade in their home opener last year, winning 37-31 in overtime. But what I like about this game is just Seattle comes in undefeated. They're starting to like their own smell a little too much. They've got the number one ranked pass defense in the NFL. But when you do some digging and you look at the strength of schedule, you see they've faced Jacoby Brissett, Skylar Thompson, and Bo Nix. So not the who's who of starting quarterbacks. And Jared Goff has been off to a bit of a slow start. The Lions haven't really looked as good as we'd hoped they'd look so far. They're 2-1. They had a good game last week. They didn't look very good at home. But, over the years, the last 2 years, this Lions team has been very good at home. You go back to that 37-31 loss last year to the Seahawks. They were leading 14-7 at halftime, 21-17 going into the fourth quarter. They blew the game late. I think they take care of business here. I think it's a good spot for the home favorite here, the way it's set up for Seattle. I think Jared Goff is going to have plenty of success. But Seattle's got some key injuries. Their They're down to their third string right tackle, and they've got a bunch of injuries on the defensive line as well. I think Goff's going to cook here, even though he hasn't done it at home this year. You look at the last 2 years, 42 touchdowns at home and just 17 touchdowns on the road. So his home away splits indicate he's a bet on at home. I'm going to take the Detroit Lions minus the 4, and I'm going to take Jared Goff over 1.5 passing touchdowns minus 135.
So here's my question. I've heard this argument a number of times over the past week, is that Seattle hasn't played anyone. Seattle hasn't played anyone. They had you mentioned Bo Nix and Jacoby Brissett and whatever crap Miami, whether it's Thompson or Boyle. It wasn't pretty what Miami had at quarterback last week, which is why Tyler Huntley's starting this week after just being picked up off the waiver wire. But all a team can do, and this is something that I fall into the trap of many times in my career, and I try not to fall in the trap of it anymore. All a team can do is play the teams that are on their schedule. It's not Seattle's fault that they played 3 weak quarterbacks to open the season. Does that necessarily mean that the Seahawks are overvalued? Or maybe they're just good and they just had weak teams to start?
Good point, Teddy. And they've got a new coach, and their coach has had success against the Lions as well. But they still have the same personnel, roughly, or similar personnel. And like I said, Goff did cook them last year in that loss. He threw for 323 yards and 3 touchdowns. So the history between these two teams would indicate that the Lions should have success in the passing game. That combined with the injuries, I think, are the 2 most significant things to me.
There we go. Jesse Schule, his take on the Lions-Seattle game. We're going to now hear, speaking of UCF, I was on that damn play this week. I got to move on. Okay.
A face made for radio.
Yeah, there he is. There he is. Okay, my friend, UCF playing Florida. How we betting this game?
Well, if you watched UCF play Colorado, it became quite apparent that we have overrated this UCF team. And I was never one of those guys that said UCF is the best team in the Big 12, like I've heard others say. I thought they were good enough to run the ball down Colorado's throat. And, it's not like they didn't move the ball. They had 461 total yards of offense. They turned the ball over 4 times, and that's how they ended up losing 48-21. But quite clearly, their defense is lacking. They can't stop anybody. They're playing a Florida team coming off a bye. Graham Mertz was cooking against Mississippi State. 19 of 21 passing, 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks. I've been critical of Graham Mertz. I've said that, I keep on remembering the guy he was at Wisconsin, and he never really got the job done at Wisconsin. He did lead the SEC in completion percentage last year. I was skeptical that he could continue that, but so far this year, despite a tough schedule, he's second with a 75% completion percentage. He was really impressive against Mississippi State. I think Mertz and Florida will get their points. And this Central Florida team, like I said, it was the 4 turnovers that prevented them from scoring last week. I think they'll get their points as well. I'm looking at the total, opened at 59.5. It's quickly been bet up to 61.5. I expect it to continue to climb, especially if the weather, depending on the weather, but on a hot day in Gainesville, you can expect defenses to tire at the end of the game and points to go on the scoreboard. So I like the over here.
Yeah, there is urgency if you like this over as well. Well, 61.5 are getting bet as we speak. I'm seeing 62s and 62.5 even at one leading indicator book. Jesse, I want to ask you this conceptually. This isn't a question, and I'm not trying to point fingers at you at all. But conceptually, you had a wrong read on UCF last week. Is this a team you're likely to get involved with this week? Because usually when I got a wrong read on a team, especially when it's way wrong, the next week I'm just like, I'm not even touching that game. Let's see what happens. Was my opinion about the team completely wrong, or was it just a bad game? So usually in those scenarios, I'll end up passing when when I have a wrong side 1 week compared to the next. In this instance, you're switching side to total. Are you confident that your read on UCF is solid?
Yeah, I mean, they were an over team last year. They've been an over team so far this year. what I saw from their defense, I expect to continue. They were even when I bet on UCF last week, I wasn't betting on their defense. I was betting on their ability to run the football, and I might have overestimated their offensive abilities a little bit. But like I said, it wasn't like they weren't moving the ball. They did gain 461 yards, and that game started, Teddy. I don't know if you were watching it, but they marched down the field. They got in position for a go-ahead touchdown, but instead of going up 7-0 like it appeared they were going to, picked off in the end zone. Colorado comes back the other way. So that's like a 14-point swing, right? So, I'm not saying that I didn't read the game wrong, but a lot of what I expected to see, I still saw. I didn't see the 4 turnovers, and I didn't think that they were going to let Colorado light them up as much as they did. But yeah, I'm not afraid to come back and bet on a team that has cost me money, or bet on a game that involves a team that's cost me money. I have to have the cojones to do that, and I'm willing to do that.
Well, Jesse, we love having you on, brother. I told you last week we had some technical difficulties. I promised you'll be on this week. I put you on the Monday show with NFL football to give you a huge audience. 6 million people watching you right now. What do you have to promote?
Well, as much as I have struggled with college football and it pains me, and as Prez says, we lose sleep over these kind of things, NFL is going pretty good. 100% perfect this week. 4-0 with my NFL plays. I had a 3-0 sweep with the Thursday Night Football 3-pack, and I've got a Monday Night Football 3-pack for tonight's game. Pretty excited about that. And we're going to right the ship with college football. It's not like I don't know what I'm talking about, despite what you hear from Colorado fans. Don't listen to Colorado fans.
Brother, I'm totally with you. I'm going to right the ship in NFL starting tonight. Guys, play my 2 plays tonight. I'm really good in NFL. I've had a rough couple of weeks. That's what can you do? It sounds like a great time to be betting the Prez's plays, if you ask me. Jessica, back in the chat room. Nice to see you. One of our listeners wanted to know what casino game you and I like the best, Teddy. My answer is none. Yours?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll play Pai Gow poker if I want to drink, but I don't drink anymore. So.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Whoever asked that question, both Teddy and I are not keen on just throwing money away. So the answer is a hell no to any casino game. Teddy, it's time for your big game breakdown, and then Andrew McInnis.
Yeah, it's worth noting. When people move to Vegas, the first 6 months or so, they often go to the casinos and they'll play this game or they play that game. And it's about 6 months in, you realize, no. If we're going to the casinos to gamble, we have to do positive expectation, which is potentially poker and potentially sports betting. And everything else is just fluff. Let's talk big game breakdown. We've got the Major League Baseball playoffs. American League start tomorrow. Orioles and Royals ESPN 2 on Tuesday afternoon. Burns versus Reagans. Kansas City goes into the postseason 4-9 their last 13 games. More importantly, they're 3-14 since late August versus playoff teams. One of those wins came yesterday against the Braves. The other 2 came in series where they lost. Most importantly, this team can't hit. Braves, they threw 4 1/3 innings of hitless relief yesterday against them. What did they scored? 1, 2, 1, 0, 0, 1. They had 0 until extra innings in that game. 3, 1 7-run outburst, 0, 1, and 4 yesterday. The 4 yesterday, they had a 3-run homer in the first 3 innings. In the first inning, the first 2 batters got on base, home run, and then 1 the rest of the way. All right. This is a team that has Bobby Witt and nobody offensively. And they're going against some guy named Burns, who has a pretty good postseason track record. Baltimore brought him in order to pitch games like this. When you look at his September, 30 innings pitched, only 20 hits allowed, 4 earned runs in 5 starts in September for the Orioles ace. Baltimore struggled for much of the second half as well. They got it straightened out, though. 5-1 their last 6 ball games. And the lineup hit down the stretch. 5-9, 7-6-9. The 1-1 run game. But bottom line for me, we're looking for ways to bet against Kansas City. I think team total is a certainly reasonable 2.5. Not the number that I like. But I'll play it. You can find an alternate team total, maybe lay some juice with a 3.5, and maybe you play some Baltimore here. But the goal here, the concept is KC, even with Reagan's on the hill, not a team we trust, not a lineup that we trust by any stretch of the imagination. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy covers. Andrew McInnis about to join us. Over 300 of you watching live on just our YouTube long form channel. Many more elsewhere. Please, if you guys can take a second out of your day and hit that like button, it would be so greatly appreciated. 174,000 subscribers. If you guys have not subscribed to our channel, please do so. Teddy's got his opening line report coming up at 1 p.m. Eastern. We have so much incredible content on the show, and we have Puck Time starting shortly, one of our most beloved shows. Yes, Teddy?
I just want to say, if you want to download and listen to us podcast form, Spotify, iHeart, Apple, Pandora, all the major podcast platforms. So if you're not watching live, or if you want to share this show with your friends, you can do it podcast style every single day. Opening line report available podcast style, bet on it available podcast style, presidential address available podcast style. So you don't have to watch us live. You can always listen on replay.
There we go. Is Puck Time available podcast style? Andrew McInnis?
That it is. That it is. Good afternoon, guys. How are you?
Listen, Translucent, we love having you on. How was your weekend?
It was good. It was good. Guys, I'm having a battle right now, and I feel like I've had this battle for my whole entire time sports betting, where it's being satisfied with a low volume victory. Like I liked a ton of games yesterday, and a lot of the games I liked yesterday did well, but I went 2-0, and I cannot be upset about going 2-0.
No,
so that's
dude,
something
you got to be ecstatic. You got to be ecstatic.
Yeah.
Don't get mad at the missed winners unless you're me, because I had Indy, Atlanta. You
didn't play any of those. You didn't. No. You didn't have any of those. You thought about betting those and didn't.
They were all on my short
Teddy.
list.
Yeah, Teddy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
You didn't have them. Don't say that you had them. You didn't have them.
Yes.
What you did was your handicapping left those games on the sideline.
Let's
talk about the Toronto Maple
Andrew. So yes, I'm making the show all about me, Andrew. And speaking about me, you have a bet for us on the Toronto Maple Leafs.
So before I get into this, I want to just premise it by saying this. Taking an under on a team's season point total doesn't necessarily mean I think they're in for a bad year and won't have success this year, okay? It's just a high number and a very competitive division. So to me, when I look at the Maple Leafs, guys, the past 3 years, we've seen 115 points, 111 points, and 102. For this Maple Leafs team right now, I keep saying this every year, but it's the same old adage. It's an 82-game preseason with this team. The regular season does not matter anymore at this point. You know, they have been a good regular season team, guys, but they're getting prepared for the playoffs starting next week. You know, winning one round next year or this coming season is not going to be good enough. They need to make a deep run in order to satisfy their fan base, general management, players, and ownership. They brought in a new head coach in the offseason, guys, Craig Berube. He is a very hard-nosed, tough coach. You know, a lot of people are saying he's quite the opposite of the coach they had last season with Sheldon Keefe. He's not your player's coach. He's not going to high-five you on the bench. He's going to be tough on you. And I think it's going to take some time for the players to get used to his systems, the strategies he's going to implement. And when they do start to follow those, they're going to have a ton of success. And I think it could happen in the playoffs as well, but it has to take time. And now you look at this team right now and the teams around them. The Atlantic Division, guys, is the most competitive division in the NHL. And before Prez gives me the chance to say this or comes at me, I understand the team I cheer for is not good. But you look at the other teams, Buffalo, Detroit, Ottawa, these teams are all getting better. Then, of course, you have the Florida teams, Tampa Bay, of course, the Florida Panthers, the defending Cup champions, the Boston Bruins. There's a lot of talent around them. And my big issue with this Leafs team also is the bottom six. I don't really trust their depth. I still think they're a team built around 4 or 5 guys. And before I run too long, I'll say one more thing. They added a bunch of defensemen in the offseason, really strong defensemen. But if you look last year in the postseason, guys, when they lost to the Boston Bruins, was the reason they lost that first round because of defense or because of goals? And to me, the answer is goal scoring, not as much defense. So I'm going under on this Maple Leafs team, but I feel like they're going to have a good year. It's going to take some time to adjust to the new head coach.
Toronto under their point total. Let's talk about Nashville. What do we want to do with the Predators? We going over or under 99.5 is their current point total.
Teddy, every year there seems to be some hype teams going into every league, whether it be NBA, NFL, NHL. This is one of them. And guess what? I'm buying the hype. And I hope it doesn't turn around on me, but I'm buying into this Nashville Predators team here. This is a team that is ready to take the next step. This is a team that's ready to move forward. They're built with veterans. And if you look at all the teams that have had success over the last many years, it's not the young teams, it's the veterans. It's the teams that have guys that have been around the block on their third and fourth line, and not just young players that are breaking into the league. And they also have 2 players that have chips on their shoulders. The captain of the Tampa Bay Lightning, former captain of the Lightning, Steven Stamkos, gets tossed to the curb. They said, we're done with you. We appreciated all the stuff you did for us as captain over the few years. We're not going to re-sign you. Well, Jonathan Marchessault with the Vegas Golden Knights, pretty much the same thing. He said in an interview over the summer, yeah, I talked to the management and they pretty much said they no longer need my services anymore. 2 talented players, chips on their shoulders. And, well, where do they fit in the best? On the power play. Where do the Predators struggle the most? On the power play. They have a great defensive core, one of the best goalies in the league, and to me, a team that's built and ready to take that next level. We're going to go up and over the season point total for the Nashville Predators, and watch out for them this year. I think they're going to make the playoffs and actually make a pretty good run this season.
Couple of minutes left to go in the show. Don't forget Teddy's opening line report coming up at 1 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget, tomorrow it is Trash Talk Tuesday. Steve Merrill and I hosting, and we are going to trash talk Tokyo Brandon from start. Even when he's not on the show, we're going to still trash talk him. Andrew, Linus Ullmark, goaltender for the Ottawa Senators, and a man that has a chip on his shoulder coming into the season. Where are you going?
That's a good point, Prez, and things aren't really working out well for the Bruins right now as they haven't signed the other goaltender that they left when they traded away Ullmark. So what a shit show it is over there in Boston right now. But here's the deal, guys, with the Ottawa Senators. They have been, quote-unquote, rebuilding for what feels like 5 or 6 years at this point. But they're a really solid team with players, I think, that are ready to take that next step again. But they always needed a goaltender. That's been the problem for them for years. Guys, I have some interesting numbers here that I've found hard to believe. Last year, under their goaltender, Corpus Salo, when he had a below 900 save percentage, Prez, the team was 1-19-2. When he had a save percentage above 900, the team was 18-3-2. Why am I bringing up a different goaltender? Because this new goaltender is going to have a ton of games with a save percentage above 900. This team is just dying. They're itching for a good quality goaltender. The team went out, paid one, got one, traded for one. And to me, it's going to help them in a big way. They have the goal scoring. They have the talent. They have defense. They needed some good goaltending. They got that, which is why I'm going to take over 25.5 wins. Perfect. For Ullmark. He's going to play a ton of games, guys, to get the job done.
Makes total sense. Andrew, what do you got to promote?
Guys, I've been very, very quietly collecting some units in the NHL preseason. And I know right now we have a deal out for the full entire NHL season, but I wanted to give people a chance to join me for the first month of the season before they decide to jump in for the full year with me. So for $149, you can get all the plays I release for the remainder of the NHL preseason, and you'll also get the first month of the regular season. I'm really excited for this year, guys. I'm prepared, and I cannot wait for puck time to be back. Thanks for your time, guys. 149 preseason plus the first month of regular season.
Love it. Andrew McInnis, outstanding work, and he'll be a co-host of Puck Time throughout the NHL season. Go Prez, win both your plays tonight. Yes, Guy. Join me, everyone. Game day 10, $10 off of my 5%. Teddy, lots of love, brother. We'll see you Wednesday. Take us home.
Sure. That's going to wrap it for the Monday edition of WagerTalk Today. Like Lauren said, I'm taking a personal day tomorrow. I'll be back on Wednesday, but the show will be here. They'll be trash talking the entire time. Be sure to tune in live, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. here on the left coast. Between now and tomorrow's show, make sure to check out the NFL presidential address, the NFL opening line report. Enjoy the games, and best of luck with all your bets.